So it's finally a nice enough day out and I have time, which are two things that don't come up very often during the winter. But anyways, we're gonna work on replacing this spindle for the dump trailer. I talked about that briefly before. The plan is gonna use a skid steer and bring it up the trailer, lower the trailer, drive the skid steer off, and then move the trailer over to the garage so that way I can work on it. I'm not laying in the dirt to do this. The dump trailer does not fit in my garage because I only have 7-foot doors. And this way it'll be a nice flat surface to work on. It's dry, it's elevated, so I won't be, laying down, kneeling down half the time. I should be able to kind of like sit in a stool if I need to, and then lay on the trailer. So that's the plan. What could go wrong? Well, we didn't die, so that's a plus. Obviously everything's wet because everything's kind of thawing out lately, and tires are wet, wood floor is wet, tires are shot, and I made it up once fine, and then it started creeping down because the parking brake on the skid steer doesn't work, and I went to go back up again, and I slid forward and reverse, and then I tried it, I think 3 times after that, and also slid forward and reverse. So I reverted to just using the winch, which is probably a smart and safe idea that I should have done originally. But hey, that's all right. So we'll start off, we'll get the backing plate unbolted, wires cut off, and then we have to cut out the weld for the old spindle. I'll show you what that looks like after we get the backing plate off. So backing plate's off. This is the new spindle, which I'll post a link. I found them, eTrailer had them. They were out of stock when I needed it, but they're probably in stock now. This one I got off of eBay, was the exact same thing. eBay had 2 different kinds available. There's one that came as a set, and then there's one that just came individually. They were a little bit more expensive than the ones from eTrailer, but at the time I thought I needed it right away, and here I am like 4 months later finally getting to it. But that's why I went with one off eBay. So I measured off of the frame rail here to the back edge of this backing plate, and that way I have a reference point there. I'm looking at how to cut this off, and I'm thinking, as much as it's probably going to suck, is I think a Sawzall is going to be the right way to go, and just follow this inside edge of the weld bead, and that'll cut that tube back a little bit and allow room for that one to get a good weld in on there as well. So yeah, start cutting. Also, if you have a dirt driveway, cut up an old plastic bed liner, and it helps save your boots when you're kneeling down, and it's not as hard as rocks. All right, got the old spindle cut off, and the end of it is all cleaned up on the trailer tube. And the new spindle, this part of the shaft was smaller than the actual ID of the tube here. I measured, but there's no real for sure way to know what the tube thickness is, and it kind of made sense. But I thought the axle was going to be a lot thicker. Regardless, went down to my local machinist buddy and just had to make up this sleeve. Pretty snug fit on there, so I'm going to hammer this on here. And then I think I'm going to put a couple plug welds in here just so that there's no chance of anything coming apart here. If it's up against and you weld around here, you're really welding the sleeve, but you're not welding to, you know, this part of the spindle. So that way everything will get tied together pretty good. That's the plan. So we'll clean this up, hammer it, and then this will just need some fine-tuned sanding around the OD of this to fit into the tube. It's snug, but it's a little too snug for my liking. I want to be able to actually work with it and get it in and out pretty good. All right, so we got the torch sitting underneath the axle tube here. As you saw, I got that sleeve welded on and ground down, and it's a pretty close fit. I don't want to have to fight it going in, so it's been in the freezer for about 24 hours, so it's nice and cold. And then I'm gonna warm up the pipe as well, and that way the pipe will expand, the spindle will contract, and make it a little bit easier to get it in. Probably a little bit of persuasion with a hammer and such, and then I'll let everything kind of heat soak, and I'll preheat everything so that way everything's nice and warm and I'm not shocking it when I go to weld it. So we're gonna let this finish heating up and I'll grab the spindle. So as you saw and could probably tell, replacing the spindle did not go as planned. I really should have stopped right when I started and not continue to push through, because all it did was just make things 10 times worse. So, you know, shit happens. You make mistakes, you live, you learn, and you move on. And that's exactly why this will still be going into a video, is just to prove and show that everybody makes mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes and learn from it and then try something else. So ultimately, it was way too tight of a fit. The heat and the cooling did not work. Ultimately, yes, I did get it to go in all the way. However, the main issue that I have now is that when I used the aluminum block there the first time, it mushroomed over the end of the spindle here where the hole is for the cotter pin to go through. If this was all solid, it probably wouldn't have happened. And then I realized after the fact that I had some steel laying around that fit perfectly around here that I could use the hammer on against this flange here, and that's how I ended up getting it the rest of the way. I tried to save the threads, just it's not gonna happen. So unfortunately, you know, that's not coming out. I don't see any way that I'll be able to get that out. I could slice the axle on both sides and open it up a little bit, but I don't feel that that's a good option either. So unfortunately, we are going to be swapping out the entire axle. I'm ordering those parts today, so I'm going to get an axle, new U-bolts, and then I'm also getting a new equalizer for both sides, because the other side cracked and I fixed it. This side cracked already, and I figure we're already into it this far, might as well just do it, you know, do it right. I just spend the extra couple $100 and replace the stuff. You know, it's cheap insurance. I use the dump trailer all the time. It's super convenient to have. And then, you know, in the time that it's been down, I've had multiple times where I'm like, damn, I really wish that I would have fixed the dump trailer sooner. But here we are. But yeah, that's the update on this. So we'll get this video out and then keep an eye out for the next one on the dump trailer, which will be replacing the entire axle and that equalizer. So thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for what's next.